Rome didn't fall to barbarians, Rome fell to inflation. Over roughly 270 years, emperor after emperor quietly shaved silver out of every coin in circulation until the currency that once ran the largest economy on Earth was 98% worthless metal wrapped in a thin silver lie. This is the story of the denarius, the world's first reserve currency, and the slow-motion monetary suicide that killed an empire. To understand the death spiral, you have to start at the top. In the year 64 AD, under Nero, a Roman denarius was about 4.5 grams of nearly pure silver, roughly 95 to 98% fine. One denarius was a full day's wages for an unskilled laborer. 10 denarii bought a decent tunic. 25 denarii made 1 aureus of gold. The system was simple, stable, and trusted from Britain to Syria. Merchants in India accepted denarii by weight. Archaeologists still dig them up in Scandinavia and Sri Lanka. That trust was the real superpower of Rome, bigger than the legions, bigger than the roads. And Nero was the first emperor to quietly start chipping away at it. Nero needed money. The Great Fire of 64 AD had gutted Rome, he was building a golden palace, and the treasury was bleeding. So he did something clever and catastrophic. He reduced the silver content of the denarius from about 98% to roughly 93%, and he shrank the coin's weight from 4.5 grams to about 3.9. On paper, nothing changed. The coin still said denarius. It still bought a loaf of bread. But Nero had just invented a tool every government would eventually abuse, the stealth tax of debasement. He paid his soldiers and contractors in full nominal terms while pocketing the difference in silver. For a few years, it worked perfectly. Nobody noticed, and that's exactly the problem. Because once you start, you can't stop. Every emperor after Nero inherited the same trap: rising military costs, expanding bureaucracy, restless legions demanding bonuses, and a tax base that couldn't grow fast enough. So they reach for the same lever. Under Trajan, around 117 AD, the denarius dropped to about 89% silver. Under Marcus Aurelius' fighting plague and Germanic wars, it slid to 75% by 180 AD. Under Septimius Severus, who famously told his sons to enrich the soldiers and despise everyone else, it crashed to roughly 50% silver by 211 AD. Think about that. In 150 years, the most trusted coin in the world had lost half its actual value, and most Romans living through it had no idea, because each individual debasement was small, gradual, and disguised. Then came the 3rd century, and the wheels came off. Between 235 and 284 AD, Rome had more than 50 emperors, most of them assassinated by their own troops. Civil war was constant, the borders were collapsing. And the only way any of these short-lived emperors could buy loyalty was to pay the legions more, in coins that contained less and less silver. By 250 AD, the denarius was about 40% silver. By 260 under Gallienus, it was 5%. By 270, the coins coming out of imperial mints were essentially copper discs, given a thin silver wash, a dip in molten silver that wore off in your pocket within weeks. People literally watched their money turn brown in their hands. From 95% silver to under 2% in roughly 270 years. The chart of silver content over time doesn't curve, it cliff dives. And here's the part most people miss. The prices reacted exactly the way modern economics would predict. We have wheat prices preserved in Egyptian papyri, which used a parallel Roman currency system. From the year 1 AD to about 150 AD, the price of wheat in Egypt was basically flat, maybe 7 or 8 drachmas per artaba. By 250 AD, it was around 16. By 280, it was 120. By the early 300s, wheat prices in some regions had risen more than 100-fold in a single lifetime. Soldiers' wages, rents, taxes, everything chased the collapsing coin. Merchants started refusing to accept new imperial coins and demanded older, higher silver issues, or payment in goods directly. Rome was watching Gresham's law play out in real time. Bad money drives out good. People hoarded the old Nero-era denarii and spent the garbage. Hoards of pre-debasement coins from this era are still being unearthed today, buried savings that their owners never came back to dig up. Emperor Diocletian tried to fix it in 301 AD with one of the most famous economic blunders in history, the Edict on Maximum Prices. He set legal price caps on over 1,000 goods and services, from a pound of pork to a haircut to a lawyer's fee. Violators were punished with death. It was, on paper, an aggressive crackdown on inflation. In practice, it was a disaster. Merchants who couldn't make a profit at the legal price simply stopped selling. Goods vanished from markets. Black markets exploded. Within a few years, the edict was effectively abandoned. Diocletian had blamed greedy merchants for inflation, but the merchants weren't the cause. The mint was. You cannot legislate away the consequences of debasing your own currency. That lesson is roughly 1724 years old, and governments are still trying to forget it. Constantine took a different approach. Instead of fixing the denarius, he abandoned it. In 312 AD, he introduced a new gold coin, the solidus, struck at 4.5 grams of high-purity gold, and he protected it ferociously. The solidus would go on to circulate, almost unchanged, for nearly 700 years, one of the most stable currencies in human history. But here's the catch. The solidus was for the elite, for senators, generals, large landowners, and the imperial court. Ordinary Romans still got paid in the debased copper coinage, which kept inflating. So Rome effectively split into a two-tier monetary system, hard money for the rich, soft money for everyone else. The wealthy preserved their savings in gold. The middle class, small farmers, artisans, shopkeepers, were wiped out. They sold their land to big estates, became tenant farmers, and over a few generations, the free Roman citizenry that built the Republic gradually transformed into the bound serfs of the early Middle Ages. Inflation didn't just shrink the economy, it restructured Roman society. And this is where the barbarian story gets reframed. When the Visigoths sacked Rome in 410 AD, the empire had already been hollowed out from the inside for 2 centuries. Tax revenue, measured in real purchasing power, had collapsed. The state couldn't afford to pay legions, so it hired cheaper Germanic foederati, who eventually realized they could just take what they wanted. Trade networks shrank because long-distance commerce requires trustworthy money, and Rome no longer had any. Cities depopulated, literacy declined. The barbarians didn't break down a thriving empire's door. They walked into a building whose foundation had been silently eaten away, coin by coin, for 10 generations. So what's the takeaway? Monetary debasement is the slowest, quietest, and most politically convenient tax ever invented. It doesn't require a vote. It doesn't show up on a receipt. It just steals purchasing power 0.1% at a time until one day you look up and a loaf of bread costs 100 times what it did when your grandfather was young. Rome ran that experiment for 270 years and lost an empire over it. Every fiat currency in the modern world is running a version of the same experiment right now. The US dollar has lost roughly 96% of its purchasing power since 1913. That's not quite Roman numbers, not yet. But the denarius didn't fall in a day either. It fell one shaving at a time while everyone was busy looking somewhere else. If you found this useful, the next video traces what happened to the Byzantine solidus and how Constantinople kept its currency stable for 700 years while the West collapsed. That's the other half of the story, and it's the part nobody talks about.